ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are in this Vibhuti Yoga, that is 10th Adhyaya, and we were reading 34th Shloka in the last class. 34th Shloka, in fact I read that Shloka and explained that we have to read the Bhashyam. The Shloka is Mrityus Sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha Bhavishyatam Kirtish Shrir Vakcha Narinam Smrutir Medha Dhrutish Kshama. So that is the shloka. I explained that entire shloka. The first, there are in the first line talks about mrityu. Mrityu is the death, the all-devouring death. So that we saw. Then udbhavascha bhavishyatam. For all the people who deserve prosperity, I am that prosperity for all those who are destined to become prosperous. Then Kirtihi, Shri, Vakcha, Narinam, all these things, these people, these are all actually virtues. Kirti is a virtue, Shri is a virtue, Vak, that is the power of elocution. So that is again a virtue. Smriti is a virtue, Medha is a virtue. So all these things, these are all virtues which are personified in feminine sense. So these are all visualized as women. And all these women are supposed to be the daughters of one Prajapati, according to one Purana. Of course, here Madhusudana Saraswati gives a different Vyakhya. Madhusudana Saraswati says, Shrir Vak Smrutir Medha Dhrutihi Kshama Iticha Sapta Dharmapatnyaha Ahameva. Sapta Dharmapatnyaha, he says. Dharmapatnyaha means all these seven are the wives of another character called Dharma. Dharma means the order, the cosmic order personified, we can call it Dharma, not Yama Dharmaraja. So even in Mahabharata, we have discussed it earlier. Mahabharata, there is a big discussion as to who is Dharma. Dharma, is it referring to Yamadharmaraja? Dharma, who is the father of Dharmaraja, the Dharma Devata. Is it referring to Dharma Yamadharmaraja? There is one say interpretation that it is Yamadharmaraja. But scholars have established that it is not Yamadharmaraja. There is another personification of this cosmic order itself called Dharma. So that Dharma is that. So for this cosmic order called Dharma, all these things are required. That is, Kirti is required, Shri is required. I explained these meanings in the last class. So all these are supposed to be the personifications, and then they are personified as women. All because all these words are in feminine gender. We saw that all these words are in feminine gender. So, but then, according to a different Purana, so these people, this Shri means Lakshmi. Lakshmi is supposed to be the possession of Vishnu. So, because it is the possession of Vishnu, it is treated as his wife. It is not as though Lord Vishnu is there with his wife and whatnot. Lord Vishnu is having some particular power called prosperity. He has got all the plenty to be given to all the people. So that power is called Shakti. That power itself is that Shri. Then Vak is Vani. Vani is Saraswati. Saraswati is supposed to be the possession of Brahmadeva, who is the creator. So we call it as the wife of say Brahmadeva. All these wife and husband, they are not wives and husbands dancing together. These are all personifications. So this is one thing we have to remember. So this shloka we read in the last class. Let us see the Bhashyam. Mrityuhu dvividhaha dhanadiharaha pranaharascha. So dvividhaha means of two types. Dvividhaha, two types. What is that? Mrityu is of two types. That is, one is dhanadiharaha pranaharaha. So once a person's life is taken away, naturally, physically he is dead. One whose property is totally taken away, he is as good as dead. So that is why Dhana Adi Haraha, Dhanam is gone, his yashas is gone, his kirti, his fame, name and all his wealth and all his say mind, his intellect, all these things have gone. So suppose let you visualize such a situation. He is as good as dead. He is as good as a totally useless dead person. So dhanadiharah pranaharascha sarvaharah uchyate. That is the mrityu is something which is the devourer of all. That mrityu takes away your money, you have a lot of Swiss bank money and whatnot, all that thing is gone, only Switzerland gets benefited. So all this is sarvaharaha. So hara, this shabda hari or hara also we have to see. Hara means haratiti haraha, haratiti harihi. So both Hari and Hara, that is Vishnu and Shiva, they are also called Hara. But we are now using it in a different sense for Mrityu. Mrityu is somebody who takes away everything. But there, Hari and Hara take away our only bad deeds. They take away our papam. Papam harati iti harihi. Papam harati iti haraha. So in that sense, that is Shiva and Vishnu have to be understood. But here Mrityu Sarva Haraha means he is taking away everything. That is the sense. Sarvahara uchyate soham ityarthaha. I am that. Then athava para ishvaraha.
Para ishvaraha. Before that also.
Tatra
yaha pranaharaha. We have read up to this one.
Pranaharascha. My book doesn't contain anything more. Okay. Sarvahara uchyate soham ityarthaha. So do you have this athava?
Yeah.
Huh?
After that, tatra yaha pranaharaha. Saha sarvaharaha ityuchyate.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Yaha pranaharaha sa sarvahara ityuchyate means that which is pranahara is taken as sarvahara. That which takes away your life is said to be taking away everything you have. So that is the meaning. The meaning doesn't change anyway. Let us read this. Athava para ishvaraha pralaye sarvaharanat sarvaharaha soham. So in an individual context you can interpret it, or you can interpret it in the context of the whole world also, in the whole creation. In the whole creation, when it is going to be resolved, when there is going to be some pralaya, in that pralaya, I am the one which is taking away. Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, these are the three functions, three cosmic functions. And that cosmic function called pralaya, I am the same function. So that is it. Then Udbhavaha, Utkarshaha, Abhyudayaha, Tat Prapti Hetuscha Aham. So this next line says, the second pada says, Udbhavascha Bhavishyatam. Udbhava means origination. Udbhava, something which materializes. So that is what is called Udbhava. But here the sense is prosperity, plenty, Udbhavaha. Tasya Udbhavaha, Utkarshaha. Utkarsha also is excellence. Utkarsha is excellence. Abhyudayaha. Abhyudaya again is prosperity in this life. We know these two words, Abhyudaya and Nishreyasa. Abhyudaya is all well-being in this world. Nishreyasa is well-being after. Well-being after means not that there is an afterlife. There is no need to be to have an afterlife. So that is our meaning of Nishreyasa. A man of religion, his Nishreyasa is to go to heaven and dance with somebody. But then for a Vedanta student, Nishreyasa means not having another Janma. So that is the Nishreyasa for us. So here Abhyudaya means prosperity in this world. Abhyudayaha. Tat prapti hetuscha aham. I am the cause for attaining that. Prapti hetuhu. Hetu is cause. Prapti hetuscha aham. Kesham bhavishyatam bhavi kalyananam utkarsha prapti yogyanam ityarthaha. Kesham means for whom? It's a small question. Bhavishyatam. That is for those bhavi kalyananam, those who are going to attain prosperity in future, those who have got all good foreboding, all good future, all good thing in future. Utkarsha natesham, utkarsha prapti yogyanam, those who are eligible, those who deserve to get that prosperity. It is not as though all bad people deserve that prosperity. For those who deserve prosperity, I am that prosperity, I am that thing, good fortune, which accrue to the one who deserves it. So that is the meaning. The good fortune which accrue to the one who deserves it. Then Kirtihi Shrihi Vakcha Narinam Smrutihi Medha Dhrutihi Kshama Ityetaha Uttamaha Strinam Aham Asmi Yasam Abhasamatra Sambandhenapi Lokaha Krutartham Atmanam Manyante.
atmanam manyante.
So Shankaracharya is not referring to any Purana. He is only referring to these women. He is just saying all these are women. All these are probably, as I said in the earlier class, all these things which are described as vibhutis here, they may not be known to us, but for people of that time, they were all matters of general knowledge. So even a villager probably, he knew what is this Aksharanam Akarosmi Dvandva Samasikasya cha. Then all these things, all these references here, they were matters of common knowledge. So that is why Shankaracharya also has not elaborated. So Kirti we saw, Kirti is fame, Shrihi, that is all this wealth, prosperity, etc. Then Vak is speech. Vak literally means speech, but here speech means that gift of eloquence, gift of saying, reciting, things like that. Then Vaksha, then Smrutihi, memory, Medha, that capacity, intellectual ability to analyze, Dhruti is that resoluteness, firmness of character. Then Kshama is that forbearance, ability to be, unperturbed even in, times of despair. So that is Kshama. Ityetaha uttamaha strinam ahamasmi, uttamaha strinam ahamasmi. Among all the women, I am these things. So which means these are all personifications. So that is how we have to take it. Ahamasmi yasam, of these. And what is the nature of these things, of all these women? Abhasamatra sambandhenapi. Even if there is a minute contact with them, people feel happy. People feel very grateful. Suppose you get some lottery. So that is a abhasamatra of Shri. Shri means Lakshmi. Lakshmi means plenty. So of that plenty, you get some small lottery and then you feel very happy. Then Vidya, you get some Vidya and then you are happy. So all these characters are such that people are happy even with a small acquaintance with them. So abhasamatra sambandhenapi. Abhasa means just apparent sambandha. That is here a little bit. We have to take it as abhasa should not be totally taken as something like a mirage. It should be taken as some little, in the sense of a little. Even if you have a little bit of them, you feel happy. So that is the nature of all these virtues, or virtues like Shrihi, Dhihi, Medha, etc. etc. Abhasamatra sambandhenapi lokaha means people. Krutartham atmanam manyante. So they feel themselves highly satiated, highly happy, highly rewarded. They feel krutartha. They feel themselves rewarded, but even by a small possession of these virtues. So that is the meaning. Then let us see the next shloka. Bruhatsama tatha samnam Gayatri chandasamaham Masanam margashirshoham Rutunam kusumakaraha. So here again 4 things are told. In the first pada, Bruhat Sama Tatha Samnam. Samnam means we have come across this Sama Veda earlier also. Vedanam Sama Vedosmi. There he referred to the whole Veda. So that Veda Sama, it is having several songs, let us say. Sama is actually a song. So Sama, most of in that class we discussed that most of the mantras in Sama Veda, or 90% of the mantras in Sama Veda, are taken from Rig Veda only. Rig Veda is the source for Yajur Veda, Sama Veda also. Then Sama Veda, 90% of the mantras are from Rig Veda. The only difference is here there are certain musical notes. There are some swaras. We know that Sama Veda is the source for our what is called Gandharva Vidya, that is this Gana Vidya or Gandharvam as we call it. And there we come across these swaras. Swara means Sapta Swaralu, we have got this 7 swaras now. But what they say in the Sama Veda, I am told there were only 5 swaras. Later, by the time of Amarakosha, he tells about 6 swaras. That is Shadja Madhyama Nishadarshabha Gandhara Shadja Madhyama Dhaivataha. He says like that. He tells about those 6 swaras. Subsequently, 7th swara also we see now. Then in Samaveda, it seems there were 5 swaras. I am personally not aware of it. But then those swaras, Bruhat Sama, So all these mantras of this Rigveda, they were sung. And then sung, there were two types of singing. One was in villages, one was in the forests. So that Samaveda which was sung in forest, that was supposed to be very secret, that was called Rahasya. Rahasya means very, very private, secret, very, very confidential, let us say. So that sort of Sama, where more complicated swaras were there, that was called Bruhat Sama. And that Bruhat Sama, here Madhusudana Saraswati, he is giving that Sama example also, not example, he is quoting that mantra also. Because we don't know that mantra, we need not go into that. But what is said is, there are more swaras in that, and it is a complicated mantra in praise of Indra. Indra as the Supreme Lord. So that thing is me, that is what he says. So here, Samnam Rugakshara-rudhanam Gati-visheshanam madhye Tvam idhi havamahe ityasyam ruchi. So this particular ruk is starting as Tvam idhi havamahe, something like that it is starting, we do not know that. So that particular song, Bruhat Sama, it's called Bruhat Sama, and that was used in this Atiratra Yagam. We have heard about this Atiyatra Yagam. Some time ago, some Nambudri people, they came from Kerala and then they performed it somewhere in Bhadrachalam in Andhra Pradesh. So this Atiratra Yagam, that is supposed to be a very, very elaborate yaga. So in that yaga, this Bruhat Sama is used. So in yaga, all the four Vedas are sung, all the four Vedas are recited. The three Vedas, other mantras are there, but then this Sama is, it is sung in a particular style. So we have to know that particular, if we have to see those particular, we have to know those particular swaras. It is something like learning music also. So this particular Sama is supposed to be a very complicated, very meaningful Sama, and that is why Lord Krishna is saying, I am that Sama. So earlier shloka referred to the whole Veda. Here in that Veda there are hundreds of Samas. In those hundreds of Samas, I am this particular Sama which is in praise of Indra. So that is the meaning. Bruhat Sama Tatha Samnam. Samnam means among all those Sama songs, I am that Bruhat Sama. Then this Gayatri Chandasam Aham. Chandasam. Chandas. Here of course two meanings are there. Chandas actually refers to the prosody or meter. You know what is a meter? You know Shardula Vruttam. The slokas which we are reading, they are called Anushtup Shloka. So this particular shloka is, it has got a particular rhythm. It has got a particular rhyme and rhythm. So in all poetry, in all languages of course, in all languages, in all poetry, there is what is called a meter. Meter means a measure. So in every word also there is something called a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. For example, suppose we say table. Table, we say table. There is a stress on te and bil, it is lightly pronounced. We don't say table, we say table. Or something like microphone. We say microphone and we do not say microphone or microphone, we don't say. So like that there is a stress and unstressed syllable. Even in English language also, you must have seen your children say reading English poems. English poems if you read, there is a rhythm. There is what is called a pentameter, there is what is called a tetrameter, twinkle twinkle little star. Or if you go to a slightly bigger poem, you say, the curfew tolls the knell of parting day. So that is what is called an iambic pentameter. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. It goes like that. So that is a pentameter. So like that, Chandas is something which is a prosody. So in Veda, if you take, there are 6 or 7, different types of Chandas. So Chandas again, in Sanskrit language, there are roughly about 100, not 100, maybe slightly more than 50 odd Chandas, Chando, variations. Alankara Shastra, there is one particular branch called Alankara Shastra. Alankara Shastra is that, in English you can loosely translate it as rhetorics or something like that, or poetics, not rhetoric but poetics. So in that poetics, Sanskrit poetics, there is a description of various types of meters. There are different types of meters in Sanskrit because so many poets have used so many types of metrical compositions. So in these Vedas, there are, I think, seven meters. So among those 7 meters, this Gayatri is supposed to be one particular meter. So here we can take it in the sense of Gayatri meter also. Gayatri is a meter, and Gayatri is also referring to a particular mantra. So that is what we have to see here. Gayatri Chandasamaham. So this Chandas again, it is giving two meanings. Chandas is referring to that prosody or particular meter. It is also referring to the mantra. Chandasam. So this Chandasa Prayogaha we say. Then the Chandas is also used to refer to a particular mantra also. So here we can take it in both ways. That is, Gayatri is referring to a particular Chandas or a particular meter. It is also referring to that Gayatri mantra. So why is Gayatri mantra supposed to be so sacred? So that let us examine. I will have noted down a few points on that. We will discuss on it elaborately, because some time ago you were asking for the meaning of Gayatri mantra. So first let us see the Gayatri as a Chandas. This Gayatri Chandas, there is a small story that say in those days when the rishis they wanted to bring Somalata from heaven to earth. Somalata, we know that creeper, that particular creeper from which by say grinding which they used to make one particular potion, one particular liquor type of thing, and then they used to take it during those yajnas. So that particular drink which they were taking at the time of yajna was called Somarasa. And for bringing that Somarasa from heaven to earth, all different types of meters were employed, and all those meters they failed to get, whereas Gayatri Chandas, it succeeded in getting that Somalata to the ground. So that is a story in some Purana. So not Purana, in say in the Vedic literature only, not Purana. So that is why Gayatri is supposed to be a very sacred thing. Then Gayatri, we also know the importance of Gayatri mantra. So coming to this Gayatri mantra, Gayatri first of all is a Chandas, and in that Chandas there are several mantras. It is not as though Gayatri mantra which we now see that is the only mantra. In that Gayatri Chandas there are so many mantras, but to one particular mantra we also call it Gayatri. So it has acquired such a fame, Rudhyartha as you say, it has acquired such a fame that we call it Gayatri mantra. That is Om Bhurbhuvasvaha. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha, they are called Vyahurtis. We will take them out. The mantra portion as it is Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. So this is supposed to be the mantra. Tat Savitur Varenyam. So up to that one line. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi is another line. Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat is another line. So each line is said to have 8 letters. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Varenyam, that Na and Ya have to be read as Varenyam, two letters. Then Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, 8 letters are there. Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat, 8 letters are there. So these 3 lines, each line is called Pada. So that is why it is called Tripada Gayatri. 3 steps are there. One step is say Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi is another step, Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat is another step. So if you just break these words and see the meaning, so this Gayatri mantra is supposed to be very sacred because it is interpreted in different levels. So this Gayatri mantra is taught to a boy at the age of 8. Upanayana is done at the age of 8. And at the age of 8, what is he able to comprehend? That only that is told for him at that time. So Gayatri mantra is interpreted in terms of sun god. It is interpreted in terms of Gayatri Mata, that Gayatri Devi. Then it is interpreted in terms of pure Brahman. And some people, some Shaiva interpreters, they have also interpreted in the name of Shiva. For example, Appaya Dikshita, he and some others, they have interpreted in Shiva, say in terms of Shiva. Some people have interpreted in terms of Vishnu. Some people interpreted in terms of Shakti. So like that. But anyway, the most popular thing is interpretation in terms of sun god, and interpretation in terms of Gayatri Mata, and interpretations in terms of the Supreme Brahman. So these are the interpretations. So this mantra as such, if you see, Tat Savitur Varenyam, first let us see the interpretation. I will only tell the interpretation according to Vedanta. We need not go into that Surya and all these things. So here the meaning is Tat Savituhu Devasya Varenyam Bhargaha. Tat refers to, in Vedanta, Tat refers to that Supreme Brahman only. Tat Savituhu, Savita, there are two meanings for that. Savita is one who is the creator, that is the meaning. Creation, when you refer to creation, you also refer to creation, existence and also dissolution. Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, all the three things are taken into consideration. All these things, they appear in that. And what is that? All these three things appear in the Supreme Brahman only. In that Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, these are all things which manifest in that Supreme Brahman only. Tat Savituhu Devasya, Deva, the Sanskrit root for Div is Divudyotane, that is that which is shining. Shining, brilliance means it refers to intelligence, it refers to consciousness, that which is of the nature of consciousness. That Devasya Varenyam Bhargaha. Vareniyam means that which is most desirable. Varaniyam is most desirable, that which is chosen, desired by everybody. So that is that what is it that we all of us desire? Ananda is what we all of us desire. Ananda or bliss, that is what is desired by all human beings. So that Varenyam Bhargaha. Bhargaha is the root meaning of the etymological meaning of Bharga is Bharjanatmakam, that which breaks, that which destroys. That which destroys ignorance, that Bharjanatmakam Jnanam, that which destroys ignorance, the Jnanam which is destroying that ignorance. Then Dhimahi, we meditate as our own self. Dhimahi, that is, we meditate as our own, we meditate on it as our own self. Then Yaha Naha Dhiyaha Prachodayat. Yaha is that which Naha Dhiyaha, that is our intellect. Naha Dhiyaha is our intellect. Prachodayat, Prachodayati, that is illumines, that which is that which is a witness to all, that which is a buddhi vritti, that which is a witness, consciousness for all our buddhi vrittis which are passing through our mind. So that is the meaning of Prachodayat. Prachodayat, in the sense of Surya, we can say that which is illumining our mind, that which is illumining our consciousness, that which is giving us intelligence. That is from that Surya point of view. But when you refer to absolute Brahman point of view, it is referring to that Sakshi Chaitanyam which is reflecting in you. So that is the meaning of it. So the overall meaning of Gayatri is what we in Vedanta call that Brahmakara Vritti. That supreme consciousness which is there reflecting in my intellect, I am that supreme consciousness. So that is the meaning of that. In fact, I brought one or two commentaries written by one Shankaracharya, not our main Shankaracharya. One of the Peethadipatis has written a very good bhashyam on this. So he says, Srushti Sthiti Laya Lakshanasya Sarva Prapanchasya Dvaita Vibhramasya Adhishtanam Lakshyate Varenyam. That Varenyam is something which is the most desired thing by everybody. And that is that Srushti, that is the substratum, that is the base on which all this Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, this creation, existence and dissolution, all these things they appear, they manifest in that thing, he says. Then Savituhu Devasya. When you say Savituhu Devasya, Vargo Devasya, Devasya is in Shashti Vibhakti, isn't it? That possessive case as we call it. So when you say possessive case, then how should you interpret? Then we have seen in Gita Bhashyam also, what is it called? Tadhama Paramam Mama, Mama Dhama. When it is said Mama Dhama, it does not mean Mama is different and Dhama is different. It is not as though somebody is dwelling in a particular house. That Mama and Dhama are one and the same. That is what we say, we read it there. That is Rahu's Shiravat. One example was also given, Rahu's Shira, Rahu's head. In fact, this Rahu's Shiraha came twice in Gita Bhashya. So I need not again explain. Rahu is not different from head. When you say Rahu's Shiraha, it is referring to Rahu only. So when you say Savituhu Devasya, it is only referring to that supreme consciousness. So that is what is also mentioned by him, by this Swamiji. Savituhu Devasya ityatra Shashtyarthaha Rahu's Shiravat Aupacharikaha. This is Aupacharika, Rahu's Shiravat. Just as you say Rahu's Shiraha when you refer to Rahu only. Likewise, Savituhu Devasya, you are only referring to that Buddhya, that particular Chaitanyam, that particular consciousness only. What is it? Buddhyadi Sarva Drushya Sakshi Lakshanam. that is Sakshi, that is the witness for all this buddhi, etc. Buddhi is also a Drishyam. Drishya is something which is seen. So for all this Drishya, this is the Sakshi Lakshanam. Yan me Swarupam, that which is my real nature. That Yan me Swarupam, Tat Sarvadhisthana Bhutam. And that is the substratum, that is the base for all the world which we see. So what is this consciousness which is reflecting in me is the same as that supreme consciousness. So that is what that is the meaning given. There is Vidyaranya Swami also writes in the same manner. Vidyaranya, of course, we know. Vidyaranya Swami has written on the whole, all the 4 Vedas. The Veda Bhashyam he has written. There again he has given same meanings here. For example, Bhargaha Sakshatkarena Avidya Tat Karyadahakam. So, Varenyam Ashreyaniyam Yadadharamidam Jagat. So and so he writes. In a similar manner, Vidyaranya also writes. So I need not repeat. So here the meaning is, this Gayatri mantra is explained to a young boy as though it is referring to the Surya. And also, or to Gayatri Matra also. There is what is called Gayatri Dhyanam also there. Mukta Vidrama Hema Neela Dhavalachhaye, like that. So it is told to that boy in that level. But then when he grows up, and if he is fortunate to listen to some Gita Bhashyam, and if he is fortunate to read some Upanishads and all that, then if he goes through some the learning of this Vedas and all that, then all this meaning which is intended, it dawns on him. The intended meaning, it really dawns on him. So that is why we see this Gayatri mantra with so many layers of meaning, interpreted by different people in different manner. But Vedanta interpretation is just as we discussed now. And then this Gayatri is so famous in our, so well known in our entire, tradition. Of course, Shankaracharya does not write about it because it is so well known. Something which is so well known, Shankaracharya need not write. But then, because most of us have forgotten what is this Gayatri mantra, we can just recapitulate some of the points. At Shankaracharya's time, in Shankaracharya's time, this is something which is known to everybody. So now that we don't know the tradition, so we can recapitulate some of the points. For example, Gayatri is very, very famous, we say. And then some of the examples I can say. For example, we know this Ramayana. Ramayana, we know that there are 24,000 shlokas. And each, for say, Valmiki has written this Ramayana in such a way that after every 1,000 words, this letter from, say, Gayatri mantra comes. The first letter of, say, Ramayana starts with the first letter of Gayatri mantra. Tat Saviturvarenyam, it starts with Ta. Tapaswadhyaya niratam tapasvi vagvidam varam, it starts like that. Then when you go to 1001 shloka, Tat Sa, it starts with Sa. That shloka I don't remember. That if you see that Ramayana, in fact all the commentators, they also write. Then Vishwamitrascha Dharmatma, so where Vishwamitra goes to that King Janaka's court, so that shloka starts, that is 2001 shloka. So like that, after every 1,000 shlokas, you find this Gayatri mantra's word there. So that is what is called Gayatri Samputam, that is, say, embedding Gayatri like that. So like that, it is not merely, it is not just a literary exercise or something like that. The significance of Ramayana, if you see, Ramayana is supposed to be containing all the essence of Veda. In fact, you must be knowing one shloka, Veda Vedye Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Veda Prachetasadaasit Sakshad Ramayanatmana. Veda Pare Pumsi, that is that supreme being, Veda Vedya, that particular thing which is known only through Veda, Jate Dasharathatmaje. Once that entity has taken a human form as the son of Dasharatha, then Vedaha Prachetasadaasit. Veda also did not want to lag behind. Veda also wanted to accompany the supreme being in the form of Ramayana. Prachetasad asit sakshad Ramayanatma. It's not mere extolling or anything like that. All this dharma which is mentioned in the Vedas, it is told in several places in Ramayana. So that is the basic thing. So that is why Ramayana we do Parayanam. Parayanam means that is our supreme path. Param Ayanam is that Parayanam. That is our supreme path. That is our most chosen path. So that is why we will do that Parayanam. So that is one thing. Then this Gayatri, if you see, say, generally some more points, if we see this thing, we know this Gayatri is used for our Sandhya Vandana, Sandhya Upasana, this Japam, we use it. Then Gayatri Dhyanam. In that Dhyanam, that we visualize this Gayatri as a Shakti, as the mother. That mother which is having all, which is the embodiment or symbol, which symbolizes all these 24 tattvas, which Vedanta says, Chaturvimsatyakshara, Chaturvimshati means 24. This 24 tattvas, this 24 characteristics which are there in this whole universe, all these 24 characteristics are supposed to be there in that Gayatri. So she symbolizes that. Then Trigunatmika, then Pancha, Shira, that is all this Pancha Bhuta. So like that, for everything that is there in Gayatri, that symbolism, it is symbolically represented as a woman, as a deity, as a lady, as a deity, let us say. So that is one thing which we see. Then this Gayatri is, this Japam of Gayatri is done by all the people in the society. It is not as though it is restricted to Brahmins alone. It is there for all the people, for all the Dvijas. Dvija means, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Vaishya means Krushi, Goraksha, Vanijyam. That is all the people who were doing, the Lord Krishna himself was strictly speaking, he was a cattle herd, isn't it? He was a cow herd. But then he knew Veda. And he is the gentleman who is telling us all these things. So, in olden days, it was there for everybody, but unfortunately, people over a period of time, they have left it because of so many historical reasons and the type of turmoil our Indian society underwent over a period of time. So now, of course, even the Brahmins are, ignoring this Gayatri mantra. But once upon a time, it was there for everybody in society. So that is one point which we see. Then another beautiful point is, it was recited, it was there for women also. You are aware of it? It was Gayatri actually. Even now some people, they perform this Upanayana for their daughters also. But then whether you perform Upanayana or not, this Gayatri was known, this Sandhya Upasana was there for women also, as we see in Ramayana. Ramayana is another example. Ramayana, we know the story of Ramayana, where Sita is abducted by Ravana. And then this Hanuman goes in search of, Sita. There, he searches every building there. And then he searches every nook and corner of Lanka town. And then he goes to the outskirts. He doesn't find anywhere, and then he goes to the outskirts. Outskirts, there is a very, very clear river. A river with very, very clear, clean water. So there he thinks, if at all Sita is alive, she will definitely come here for the evening Sandhya prayer. So that is what he says. This is the 14th Sarga, Sundara Kanda. We know that Kanda, where that particular chapter, that particular book, portion of the book in Ramayana is called Sundara Kanda. In that Sundara Kanda, this 14th Sarga, this 49th Shloka, it says, Sandhya kala mana shyama dhruvameshyati janaki nadim chemam shivajalam sandhyarthe varavarnini. So he says, then another line, in another next Shloka, he says 51, Agamishyati Savasyam Imam Shivajalam Nadim. The water is so good here, so pure here. If at all she is alive, she will definitely come at the time of dusk. So that is what he thinks. He expects her there. Of course, Sita doesn't go there. Meanwhile, he sits there only, and then in that he tries to locate her in that garden itself, and then ultimately he locates her. That's a different story. But then the idea which is there in Hanuman's mind, it shows that women were also doing Sandhyopasana at that time. And then we also know that by reading all these Upanishads, we also know that lot many women, they were great scholars. They were great scholars in Vedanta at that time. Great scholars in Vedas at that time. So anyway, this Gayatri is there for all people, including women. That is number one. That is another point. Another point is, Gayatri is also used for pranayama. When you do normal japa, you only say the three vyahrutis, Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. That is normal japa. But then when you do pranayama, you also do, we know in one of the earlier classes I showed you how we do pranayama. There is what is called Purakam, there is what is called Kumbhakam and Rechakam. That is filling, retaining and leaving. filling through one nostril. It may be any nostril, it may be left nostril or right nostril, depending on say through which nostril you are breathing at that particular time. We all know that this breathing, it alternates between each nostril every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, from left nostril it moves to right nostril, and from right nostril to left nostril it keeps on alternating. So depending on through which nostril you are breathing at that particular time, you are supposed to do that inhaling, and then retain, and then leave the air. So that is one cycle called pranayama. Prana means vital air. Pranasya ayamaha. Ayama is regulation. Pranasya ayama is prana. Ayama is pranayama. Then what is it? How is Gayatri related to that? When you do pranayama, you tell all the sapta vyahrutis. Sapta vyahruti, we know these 7 vyahrutis: Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Mahaha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. These are supposed to be different lokas. Lokas means worlds, heavenly worlds as we call it. All these heavenly worlds from the point of view of a man of religion. From the point of view of a Vedanti, religion means, of course, we are also in religion, no doubt, but in the we don't take it in the same sense, but then we take it as some experiential states. So that is what this Vedanta meaning says. That is Sarve Lokaha Omkaravachya Brahmatmakaha. When we discussed this subject Om, in that Om class, I also told you about this Om is something which represents the whole Shabda Prapancha, and it is something which represents the whole Drushya Prapancha, isn't it? So that you can recall it. So in that Om, class on Om, that is the 8th chapter or so, there we discussed that Omkara. So the same thing, all these loka, all these so-called experiential states, they are manifest in the same consciousness. They are not some 3-dimensional places. They are not space stations where some luxuries are provided. But these are all your own experiential states. So, sarve lokaha omkaravachya brahmatmakaha na tad vyatiriktam kinchidasti iti vyahrutayopi sarvatmaka brahma bodhika. This is again the same Acharya's commentary. Then, so which means all these 7 vyahrutis have to be told. Then at the end of that mantra, you also say Om Apo Jyoti Raso Amrutam Brahma Bhuvaswarom. That is called Shiro mantra. So what is denoted in that Shiro mantra is also nothing but same Brahma Chaitanya only. Gayatri Shirshaha api ayameva arthaha apaha iti apnoti iti vyapitvam jyotiriti prakasha rupatvam. Om apaha jyoti. You are referring to water, you are referring to fire, you are referring to light and all these things, isn't it? So all these are again manifestations in that same consciousness only. So that is why all that thing, all that Satchidanandatmakam yad Omkara Vachyam Brahma tad aham asmi, that I am, iti Gayatri mantrasya arthaha. So that is what this Swamiji writes. So like that, so this, when you do this pranayama, you take into consideration the first sapta vyahrutis, Om Bhuhu Bhuvaha Suvaha Maha, etc., etc. Then at the end of this thing, at the end of Tat Savitruvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya, then you say Om Apo Jyoti Raso Amrutam Brahma Bhurgosam. So this long, along with the prefix and the suffix, you have to use this thing for pranayama. When you do pranayama, you have to do it for a longer time. So for having say some benefit, some so for that reason, not only for health benefit, but also for your own meditation purpose, your own meditation, you are meditating that all these lokas which appear, they are nothing but manifestations in this consciousness. And what all you see, that Apa, Jyoti, Rasa, Amrutam, Brahma, Bhurbu, all these things, they are all again manifestations in the same Supreme Brahman. And this japa, you do this pranayama, you are supposed to do 3 times a day. 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening. That is reminding yourself that you are that Brahman consciousness. So you imagine yourself the type of impact it will have on a person's character. So it is as though you are checking your coordinates every time. So suppose a man is in the forest, what he needs is a compass. So his coordinates have to be perfect in order to reach to the place. So you, that is the human being who is living in this world, his coordinates have to be perfect. His understanding of his own self has to be perfect. His understanding of the universe has to be perfect. So that is why 3 times a day you are reminding yourself that you are that Supreme Brahman, and you imagine the type of impact that will have on your own mind. So this is the type of training which is needed for a Dvija. Dvija again means not only a Brahmin but everybody in society. So this is the type of tradition which say the Indian society inculcated over a period of time. But it is very, very unfortunate that we have almost lost it. Then Gayatri, again there is a Swara. Gayatri again we have to recite, not in the filmy tune. Gayatri, now even films have adopted it. Gayatri films have all this Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Even films have adopted it, and there is a filmy tune. We should not go to that filmy tune, because there is what is called a Udatta Swara, Anudatta Swara in this. As far as possible, we have to follow that Swara. We may not be very, very perfect like a Veda Pandit, but we have to follow that Swara. So this is basically we have to remember about Gayatri Mantra. And this is, and Gayatri Mantra, another point which we have to see is, very, very clearly when you do this Nyasam, Gayatri, I was just saying that it represents both Savita, somebody who is called a creator Brahma, or somebody an empirical god, or Surya, and it also represents the Supreme Brahman, isn't it? So this is very, very clear when you do that Nyasam. When you do Angan Nyasa, what do you say? Om Tat Savituhu Brahmatmane Angushtabhyam Namaha Varenyam Vishnuatmane Tajjanibhyam Namaha Bhargo Devasya Rudratmane Madhyamabhyam Namaha. Then here these 3 we have referred to, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra we have referred. Then Bhargo Devasya Rudratmane Madhyamabhyam Namaha. Dhimahi. Then what is Dhimahi? Satyatmane Anamikabhyam Namaha. Dhiyo Yonaha Jnanatmane Kanishtikabhyam Namaha. Prachodayat Sarvatmane Karatala Karapushtabhyam Namaha. What is that? Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. You are going to Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, isn't it? Dhiyo Yonaha Satyatmane not Dhiyo Yonaha, what is this? Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Satyatmane. Satyatmane means you are referring to Satyam. Dhiyo, after that Dhiyo Yonaha, that is Jnanatmane, that is Satyam Jnanam. Then Prachodayat Sarvatmane. Sarvatmane means that which is all pervading. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So you are going from Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara level to that Satyam Jnanam Ananta level. From Saguna to Nirguna you are jumping. You are in the very Nyasa. Even in the very Nyasa process, this Anganyasa and Karanyasa process, first of all Karanyasa and then Anganyasa process, you are moving from this ordinary level to this Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara level to Satyam Jnanam Anantam level. So a child of a small boy who is taught all this drill, this Upanayanam is again, Sandhyavandana is a sort of drill, isn't it? So this Sandhyavandanam which is taught to a small boy, for a long time he may not know all these things. But then when he goes through these books, when he slowly starts going to the Gurukul and then starts reading Veda, or by some good luck, of course nowadays we are not exposed to all those things. By some good luck he listens to some Swamiji, and then he knows about something about Gayatri, and then he starts doing this Sandhyavandan. Then he realizes the importance of Sandhyavandan. So this Gayatri, why is it called so important? There are thousands and thousands of mantras in the Vedas. Why is it so important? Because this is something which is used for Upanayane Viniyoga. Gayatri, Upanayane Viniyoga. Upanayana not only means Upanayana at some time, that ritual only. Every day we recite this mantra. Gayatri, Upanayane Viniyoga. Om Bhuhu we say, every morning we say. What does it mean? Upanayana, Samipe Nayanam. It takes you near that Supreme Brahman. So this is the only mantra which is talking about Supreme Consciousness. All other mantras, they only talk about the particular God form, that particular Murti. Sometimes you are seeking something from him or her. You want some Buddhi, you want some Balam, you want something else, you make all requests to them. This is one mantra where you are identifying yourself with that universal. So that is why Gayatri is supposed to be, Gayatri's importance is there. In all other mantras, you are definitely referring to some God. You are referring, whether it is some Shiva or Vishnu or Vinayaka, you are referring to that. But then this sort of say disconnection from all personal say requests and whatnot, and then this sort of identification with the Supreme you don't find there. So that is why this is supposed to be very, very sacred. So that this is the general background of this Gayatri. So that is why Lord Krishna says, Lord Krishna says means, when all in the whole of Gita, wherever Krishna says I, it is referring to that supreme entity, isn't it? So that is what we have to remember. So here, Bruhatsama tatha samnam Gayatri chandasamaham. Among the chandas, among all the mantras, I am that Gayatri. So that is what he says. Then Masanam Margashirshoham Rutunam Kusumakaraha. Masanam Margashirshoham. Margashira Masam. Just recently we had that Margashira Masam. Now of course we are in Pushya. Margashirsha. Margashirsha, one commentator has written that at the time of Mahabharata, the commencement of the year was from Margashira Masa. Margashira Nakshatra, Margashira Masa. So that is what he has written, and he has quoted that is there in shown in Anushasana Parva of Mahabharata. Anushasana Parva, Adhyaya, that is chapter number 106. Chapter number 106. So the commencement of the year at that time, Mahabharata time, was from say Margashira Masa. So maybe over a period of time, for various reasons, all this reckoning of time has changed. Now, of course, we are in, most of us, we are in Christian era. But then those who still follow our Indian era, we say Shalivahana Shakam. In Andhra area, we use this Shalivahana Shaka. In North India, they call it Vikrama Shaka. So like that, there are different types of calculation of time. So maybe in Mahabharata time, it was like that, the practice was like that. And Mrugashira Masa is also, it is a very pleasant season. And that is the month in which all this harvest comes home. All this rich crop, it comes home. And then there, everybody's house, they are full of, all this, what is this wealth? We not in terms of money, but there's so much of cereals and all these things which will be there in the house. So that is the time for all types of yajnas, yagas, or that is the time for all types of vratas. All types of vratams are prescribed only at that time. So that is another importance of this Margashira Masa. And then Margashira Masa is the month where Upanayana is performed. Upanayanam, it is recommended for that. Then Jyotishtoma and some other yajnas are supposed to be performed in that month. So that is what is written by Madhusudana Saraswati. Madhusudana Saraswati, he says that particular Masa is known for that. Then Masanam Margashirshoham Rutunam Kusumakaraha. Kusumakaraha. Kusuma means flower. Kusumakaraha. Akaram means collection of say flowers. So Kusumakara actually literally means collection of flowers. But here Kusumakara means that particular spring season where all the flowers, all the trees, the flowers bloom, and then so many trees are full of flowers, so many plants are full of flowers. So that is the time, that is the season called Kusumakara. That is the spring season, universally liked, universally loved by everybody. So nobody likes winter. Everybody likes Kusumakara, that is Vasanta Rutu only, because Vasanta Rutu, in fact, Vasanta Rutu is another, he is supposed to be Vasanta. He is personified again. In the Indian tradition, you personify the season also. So this Vasanta Rutu is again personified. This personification of Vasanta, this called Vasanta, he is also supposed to be a friend of this Manmatha. Manmatha is, we know this Manmatha who is the equivalent of Cupid. Manmatha, Manaha Mathnati iti Manmataha, one who churns your mind. If you fall in love, your mind is just churned. It is not cool, it is not calm, your mind is totally churned out. So that is the character. And for churning of this mind, this Vasanta also helps. So which means, so there is a nice climate and you get some nice thoughts. So that is all these accompanying factors, let us say. Sahakari Karana, they say, Sahakari Karana, all these accompanying factors, they encourage a person, they encourage a man or a woman to fall in love. So all these things. So this Vasanta Rutu is supposed to be very dear to everybody. So that is why Lord Krishna also is saying, I am that say Kusumakara, Vasanta. So let us see the Bhashyam. बृहत्साम
बृहत्साम
तथा साम्नां
तथा साम्नां
प्रधानमस्मि
प्रधानमस्मि
गायत्री छन्दसाम् अहम्.
गायत्री छन्दसामहम्.
Okay, Bruhatsama. I explained that Bruhatsama. We are honestly we are not aware of what exactly is the Bruhatsama, because unless we study Samaveda, we do not know what is this Bruhatsama. Among all those samas, I am that say wonderful say sama, which is in praise of that Indra. Then Samnam Pradhanamasmi. Gayatri Chandasam Aham. Among all these chandas, chandas again two meanings as I said. One is referring to the meter as such, one is referring to the mantra. So the commentators have taken both. And in fact one particular commentator, this Ramaraya Kavi, Bellamkonda Ramaraya Kavi, he gives a very elaborate elaborate description of the Gayatri mantra. So then Gayatriyadi Chando Visishtanam Rucham Gayatri. What does your book say here? Gayatri Ruk Aham Ityarthaha. So this has to be broken. Gayatri Ruk. So it has to be broken as Gayatri Ruk Aham Ityarthaha. This Gayatri also is a Ruk. This is also from the Rigveda only. Ruk mantra, Ruk, Rucha, Ruchaha. Ruchaha means the plural of Ruk only. Ruk is a hymn. H-Y-M-N hymn, that is something which is in praise of some sort of deity or some sort of say sometimes not necessarily in praise of deity also. There are different types of mantras. So among all these things, Gayatriyadi Chando Vishishtanam Rucham, among all those Rucham means among all those hymns, Rucham is among those hymns, I am that Gayatri Ruk. Gayatri Ruk, you split it like that, Gayatri Ruk Ityarthaha. Then Masanam Margashirshoham. I am that Margashira Masa among all these masas. Masa means month. Among all these months, I am this Margashira Masa. Then Rutunam Kusumakaraha. Vasantaha. Among all the seasons, I am that Vasanta Rutu. We know that in English Western tradition, there are 4 seasons: spring, summer, winter, autumn. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. There are 4. In our somehow in our calculation, there are 6. What is this? Chaitra Vishakha Masam, Vasanta Rutu, Grishma Rutu, then again Varsha Rutu, then again what is called Sharad Rutu. Shishira Rutu, Hemanta Rutu, Shishira Rutu. There are 6 seasons as we calculate. So 2 months in each. There 3 months in each season. But here we say 2 months. So anyway, among all these things, I am that Vasanta season, that is that spring season. Then is the time over?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes means, and we will continue in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.